We're going to go now to our Newsmaker line. We're going to talk to a very special guest, Maria Luce. And Maria Luce is several things. She's a mom, a speaker, a motivational speaker, but she loves her family. She loves her country. And we're going to talk to her about a very delicate issue as we once again are dealing with more and more and more stories of terror. First, let's bring her on the Newsmaker line. Maria, hi. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me. I love being on with you.
Well,
hello, everyone, to all of your listeners.
Well, thank you very much. Now, are you down in Texas today?
I am.
Yeah.
I am just north of Dallas.
Yeah, we used to live down in the area of Houston. So, Dallas is a beautiful area. North Dallas is really awesome. So, Maria, let me ask you, because I think this is a question that a lot of people don't think far enough about, and that's how do you explain the horror of terrorism to your children? Because you might say, well, I'm just not going to talk to them about it. They're going to hear about it somewhere, aren't they?
Absolutely, and that is the number one thing that you must address it. You have to talk about it. Now, let's put an asterisk on that because this is all under the category of age appropriate. So what you might say to a 6-year-old versus a 16-year-old is obviously going to be vastly different. However, if they have any sort of screen in their hand, they are getting the, quote, news somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they may not be getting it from a factual source. So they may be getting it on Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or, any multitude of social platforms, but you need to know what they're finding out.
Yeah, and when they do find out, it's good to be close, isn't it? I mean, I want to be the one that my kids would be asking me, Dad, what does this mean? I appreciate the fact that there are pastors and teachers and neighbors and good friends and coaches, but I want to make sure that I'm the one that's really involved in the input in my kids' lives on the really, really big stuff, and there's certainly nothing bigger in the world right now than terrorism.
I couldn't agree with you more on that because they are going to get information from other sources. I mean, obviously you need to reassure them with the real facts, but you want them to come to you for the facts and then to decipher that through your family values and your morals and the things that you want to teach your children.
Is the main message that I want to give, and if I'm talking younger kids, what do you consider that break-off to be? Am I talking like 10 and under? Would you say that's the younger?
I think that's a tough one only because I would say probably 8 and under.
Okay.
But it depends on if they already have a cell phone. If they already have a cell phone or an iPad or iTouch or anything where, remember, we are living in this age of a constant 24-hour barrage or stream of information.
Yeah.
Some true, some not true.
Well, and if your kids don't have those devices, odds are they have a friend in the neighborhood that they play with, and they do have them.
You absolutely, and that's why it is crucial that you take the time to speak with your kids. And this one in particular, when we're talking about the Ariana Grande one, this is twofold because obviously the initial impact was awful. It was horrible.
Correct.
But the opportunity, as the empowered mom, and what I do in the empoweredmom.com community and coming out in my books this summer, are looking for the opportunities to teach and empower not only yourself, but your family and your children. And this benefit concert that Ariana Grande and all of these artists had is a perfect segue to talk to your kids about, okay, yes, this happens, but look what people are doing about it.
Is it important at the age of 8? And when you say 8 and under, one of the things that just jumps into my head was one of the famously publicized victims at the Ariana Grande concert was, in fact, an 8-year-old girl. Yeah. And when an 8-year-old sees that, to them, old footage of 9/11, or they hear of stuff going off over in the Middle East, or something happened in Paris. But it's like that's adults doing stuff to adults. Now that we had somebody that actually targeted children, we kind of need to get them involved in the conversation, don't we?
You absolutely have to. Again, we'll talk age appropriateness because some of it's a need-to-know basis, okay? And we don't want to scare our children, but you certainly don't want to lie to them. So this one is especially tough for kids because they keep seeing these images of themselves, and it hits home much more than some of the other items that you mentioned, the issues, or that it happens somewhere else. If your child says, well, Mommy, can this happen to me? Or Daddy, can this happen here? You can't lie. You don't want to scare them to death, but you also don't want to mislead them because they're looking to you for the answers and for honesty. And if you were to say, no, this is not, absolutely this can happen, well, you really can't say that with all.
Well, if it ever does happen here, your credibility just went out the window.
Well, they'll see through it because they're looking to you for honesty and security, and there are things you can do, like having a safety plan, talking through it. And then the other thing I also discuss is, as opposed to just discussing facts, find out their feelings. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think you would do in this case? Or how do you feel about this happening? And by the way, not only did it happen to young children, but if anyone is following, any children are following any pop culture or Ariana Grande or any pop culture channels, if you will, on any social media, then chances are they did already find out about it before you spoke to them about it.
Yeah, exactly right, because it's being dealt with. So the kids get a little older. If you've got an 8-year-old in the house, you may also have a 16-year-old in the house, and that 16-year-old is so close to becoming an adult. I mean, they're still in school, they still kind of need you, but they still think they're on their own. How does the language change for them? Are we trying to get them ready for something different?
Not something different, but we have to remember that our kids nowadays are more vulnerable to things that we never had to deal with. I mean, these types of threats weren't an everyday thing, but also having family plans, having family communication. Okay, well, if, let's say, your son wants to go to a concert this summer, all right, well, what are the security measures? Let's look through this. And then if we were to, somehow get disconnected from each other, how are we going to communicate? Things like that are real-life elements that you can help not only yourself, but also help your child empower themselves in bringing back some sense of control. So it doesn't just help you as a parent in your worry and concern, but it helps them become more empowered and more prepared for the world.
Our guest on the Newsmaker line has been Maria Luce, Luce. You can find her stuff at empoweredmom.com. And also, when her books come out, you can find them at all the normal book outlets and Amazon.com. So remember Maria Luce, Luce. And Maria, I think we just need to make sure, as you said, don't lie to your kids. Be straightforward. Make it age appropriate, but get a family plan in place. You and I think it will never happen in Fort Wayne, Indiana, or North Dallas, Texas. We also know it very well might.
That's exactly right. And validate their worries and concerns. Address them. And, have this open, honest dialogue. That's the best thing you can do to prepare your kids, empower yourself as a parent, and empower your children.
Maria, thanks so much. And we will have you back on again as we talk about how to deal with the things of the world and deal with it with our kids. And we'll look for your books and we'll follow you online. Thanks so much for your time today. Thank you, Maria.